was it clean? Oh, heaven's sakes.
So you just did the suspension?
Oh, yeah.
And then
oh, no,
you
they
just
tricked
kept
me.
juicing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they tricked me. It used to be an IQ test. You used to know when the test was going to be. Then they come out with something called out-of-competition testing.
What is
they
this?
just show up to, what is this? This isn't
ridiculous.
within the rules.
Yeah.
This is not within the protocol.
I'm trying to cheat within the rules.
That's right. I was trying to cheat within the rules.
Yeah.
That's right.
You're trying to make the sport better.
Honorable.
Yeah.
Honorable. Well, they go performance enhancing. Those are positive terms. Then they call it drug at the end to make it's medicine, right? This is legal and appropriate medicine that does make you better. All medicine makes you better, or it's not medicine. Like I would never go to a doctor and go, Doc, I feel great. Can you bring me down a notch?
Yeah.
Of course it's to make you better. And they said that to me. I was in a commission hearing and they said, did you know that this could give you an advantage? I said, guys, I wanted to have taken it if I didn't think it would give me an advantage. And they sat there. They were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe this response. Like, well, I can't believe your questions. Of course it's meant to make you better.
And how good is it?
Oh, it's great.
Like, what is it? Because a lot of people, I think, look at this and they go, okay, and maybe it makes you stronger, but it's not going to make your chin last longer, and it's not going to make your punches sharper, and it's not going to make you learn jujitsu.
True.
So, yes, it gives you an advantage, but can you explain the type of advantage?
Well, strength is huge, but, you know, the training for that sport is so difficult. I used to wake up every single day depressed. Yeah.
That's what it is.
I mean, I would literally wake up depressed knowing what I have to do today before I can get back into bed. I mean, it was most defeated feeling. I would go to bed some nights where I could barely get into bed. I'd wake up the next morning, and that was a distant memory. Yeah, the recovery was incredible. And then guys try to do it as a badge of honor. Well, I only took it so I could train harder, which then you're complimenting yourself because I was just such a hard worker. It's like, well, there is a little bit of a truth to that, but yeah, bigger, stronger, faster in that order. But they got some performance enhancers. Like, if the world understood what LeBron did, like other basketball players will hear what LeBron does and go, well, yeah, but that doesn't matter, right? It's like a baseball player and you're hitting a stick out of the way. It doesn't matter. It's like, no. If you knew what these performance enhancers did, then you would know why it does matter.
What do you think he's
There's
doing?
only one, we have the same drug guy, if you will. I know exactly what he's doing. But there's only one golfer.
Please tell.
There's only one golfer. I'm not going to, but there's only one golfer that follows the big three. And the big three is EPO, growth hormone, testosterone. That's the Lance Armstrong diet. There's one golfer, but it's Tiger Woods. Like, yes, it does matter. People will say it all the time, it doesn't matter. John Daly won it. It's like, it matters. Trust me that it matters. EPO matters. It's the reason LeBron takes it. It matters. And if other basketballers understood what it did, EPO increases your red blood cells, which gives you endurance so you can play all game long. You can shoot in the fourth quarter just like you shot in the fourth minute.
More red blood cells, more oxygen in your red blood cells. Okay, got you.
It's the king of performance enhancers.
So you would prefer that, especially in a fight sport, to anything else?
EPO is king.
Because it's going to give you the stamina.
Yes.
That's why cyclists do it.
That's why cyclists
Tour de France is
so that fifth round energy is
the
more
human
important.
body is not made to do the Tour de France. I mean, the people that set that up are inhumane. So of course you have to go. Of course it's supernatural people that they're forcing them to take.
Now that you're not competing, are you still on?
Yeah. So testosterone, and it's all around testosterone. So you can just take straight testosterone. I'm currently taking something called HCG, which is human chorionic gonadotropin, but it just ups your natural. It's all about testosterone.
Is that a peptide?
No.
Are you into peptides?
I'm going to start peptides.
I've been reading about those. I don't know. I will get into them. I mean, I'm into learning about them.
That's what I hear the Hollywood guys are all on.
Me too.
Say again.
I'm going to do the same. Peptides.
Yeah. Well, I'm hearing about them. Yeah, I'm hearing about them. I just don't know if they're as good as the regular stuff. Like, why take a peptide if you could just get growth hormone, or if you could just
go to the source.
Yeah, if you could just get testosterone. I'm a little confused on that.
And do you worry about affecting your nuts at all?
No. Well, and so again, you're talking about use versus abuse. Like, I've never heard a doctor, and that's an open statement. You can go to the same Forbes that's telling you that Floyd made $250 million. Come on, man. You're not that foolish, are you? Come on, 250.
It's just, I'm being serious. It's just a number after a certain point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you, but who's putting that on? I mean, who is the guy that put, if he made 250, what did this guy put on that brought the whole thing together? Come on, man. This is insane. Here's what I would share with you, though. And I've completely forgot what we're talking about.
No, you're talking about Forbes. The same Forbes would talk about
Thank you very much.
steroid
Thank you very much. Because this is a challenge. I'm going to make a big challenge here, but I've never seen a doctor. Any doctor you go to the internet will tell you that steroids are bad or that performance enhancers are bad. It's abuse. Abuse, we're having a totally different conversation. I would be an advocate for testosterone use, but testosterone abuse, and that's the problem with human nature. Here you're supposed to have 2. Well, if I should have 2, 4 is better, I'll take 9. That's the problem when you send somebody home with it. Which is why most of these hormone labs, you got to come in every week. I'll give you the shot myself. I can't trust you.
If I give it to you, you're going to be banging.
That's right. I can't trust you to go home and take this appropriately.
Listen, we know that you're a busy man. You got to fly. We got to talk about Bellator 299.
Oh, man. What do you think about that? Can I set this up? Can I set this up?
Yeah, I think you need to set this up for people.
That's your camera
Thank
right
you
there.
guys. All right, well, but for you guys, so here's one thing they don't do in our sport, and I did, and I'm gonna name drop, but Layla Ali.
Yeah.
I got to interview Layla Ali one time. I did the Celebrity Apprentice with her.
Yeah.
She comes to the hotel, and I get an interview. I got to talk about Rhonda a little bit, but that was a big deal at the time. But one thing that Layla said is she said, I wish I would have done the Olympics. And the reason she had is she was a multiple-time world champion, and she retired at like 28-0. I'm making numbers up, but it's something like this. And she said, but in my heart, I never felt it. I knew what my promoter was doing. I knew that I was training my ass off, and they were grabbing a girl from the bar, or that they were grabbing a girl from the local club, that they were building her up. Yeah, I knew that I was training the way that my father had taught me to do, and this girl had only sparred once in her life. And so I'm knocking these girls out. And she said, if I would have gone through the Olympics, that would have set an architecture where I would know I was the best. And that's one thing we don't have in this sport of MMA and boxing. We don't have a competitive architecture in place. So Scott Coker is the only promoter really with the guts to hold a tournament. It's not about the fight that he thinks the biggest or who's going to run their mouth or who can get the most media or who can politic. You 8 guys say that you're the best. So I'm going to put you 8 in a tournament. We'll start in the quarterfinals, straight line bracket. Winner gets the belt. Winner gets the main event. Winner gets $1 million. And the 8 baddest dudes step forward. He got 4 guys that are former world champions to step forward. One guy just got pulled out of a tournament named Sidney Outlaw. They put Brent Primus in, who's a former world champion. So now they got 5 world champions, not to mention the favorite. So they got 5 world champions, and none of them are the favorite, are supposed to win it. McKee's supposed to win the whole thing, but we're going to start this off. We got Usman versus Benson Henderson, the UFC champion. Usman is Khabib's cousin, undefeated, 16-0, reigning champion. I know I'm jumping around, but there's a lot of moving parts here, and I think for any promoter, Scott Coker is the one in this case, that has the courage to put a straight line bracket and bring an actual architecture. It's not about who talks the best. It's not who's got the fanciest promoter behind the scenes. You 8 guys start in the quarterfinals, play this thing through till we're done, and one of you gets the belt and $1 million, and they're going to start on March 10th.
And look, guys, if you're betting on this weekend's Bellator fights, or if you're betting on absolutely everything, you know that you're using betonline.ag. You already know if you're watching this podcast, you listen to this podcast, that's the one that we rock with. It's plain and simple, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because they're going to match 50% of your initial deposit bonus up to $1,000. That means you put up into a G in there. If you put the G, you get $500 extra to gamble with. Why would you not do that? If you're already gambling, why don't you take free money to gamble? This is an absolute no-brainer. BetOnline.ag. Make sure if you're throwing down while you're watching some dudes throw down, it's with BetOnline.ag. And make sure you use that promo code Flagrant to get that extra free cash. Now let's get back to the show. So the story is the $1 million.
Story is the $1 million and the title.
Title. But the million is
why.
exciting, right?
That's the why.
Yes, it
But
is.
I'm just trying to understand if we're going by.
It was just something so authentic. There was just something so sincere, so sincere about the way your face. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So the story is the $1 million. I'm just trying to put it through the Chael Sonnen,
it's true.
face heel
It's true.
story arc here.
The why.
The why, because I'm trying to, and it makes sense because I think that, was it the PFL did like $1 million tournament thing? I paid attention.
Sure.
I'm like, wait, there's $1 million on the line. And for me, the $1 million changes someone's life.
For sure.
That's what $1 million does, right? It's like, okay, there are these guys that they're struggling, they're fighting for how much money, who fucking knows. And ideally, they don't play up how rich they are, because the more rich they seem in the promo towards the $1 million, the more useless the $1 million seems.
For sure.
But if all these guys are working at Home Depot and then come out afterwards and they can barely make their car payments and all of a sudden $1 million, I mean, you see what happens at the UFC when they give them the $50,000 bonuses and the people start to cry, oh, I can move my family to where I live. It's beautiful. So the $1 million I love, but but how do we get people to be into each one of those characters?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting thing. I mean, you bring up a really good point, but one thing to look forward to is just that, it really is chess, not checkers. So when one guy gets done in the quarterfinals, he knows who's next. And if he doesn't, he at least knows what fight.
Yeah.
So now he's got a rough idea of also when this fight's going to be. I'm going to be sitting in the front row and where this is going to go. And I got to be part of a tournament. I will tell you, it is very different from a competitor standpoint. When you know who you've got.
Wait, it's not the same day.
No, it's not the same day.
Okay,
I've done those though. Way back.
That's crazy.
They used to do 8-man in
Isn't that
one day.
fucking absurd?
By the time I came along, it was 4-man, and then it went down to.
I mean,
no
at the end,
tournaments,
aren't
but-
your hands
Oh my
just
God.
destroyed?
So sore and so tired. I've had 2 4-man tournaments, so 2 guys in one day. And I would say, yes, the next day was just amongst when you feel it the most, amongst and now I couldn't even imagine. That was normal back then. I mean, my mother and father took me to the airport, put me on the plane with a kiss on the cheek, and I'm calling them from a payphone and telling them how I did it.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine agreeing to fight 2 men in one night, or like Hoist Gracie did with 3. But anyway, that's the point of the tournament. That's the whole point of the Grand Prix. It's a straight line bracket. There's no politics. Coker's got 8 guys that claim they're the best. Well, they're all going to get the same chance.
Who do you think who do you got?
Usman has never lost, or rather, Nurmagomedov has never lost.
Yeah.
I think you have to look at that. But, to count out A.J. McKee, I watched A.J. McKee beat Darren Caldwell in less than a minute. So,
Yeah.
and those aren't even, Britt Primus is my own teammate. And so, there's a few guys, I guess I got to watch my tongue a little bit. But it's stacked, man. I'll be the last guy to count Vincent Henderson out. He's world champion. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday.
Of course. Now, do you think that the Dagestanis are juicing?
No.
What do you make of the Islam IV situation?
That's a sticky rule. I mean, it would be a lot to answer that question. That is a sticky rule with USADA, and Islam had the legal right to use an IV. The question is...
what went in the IV?
That's right. And how many milligrams he used. And,
because they would have tested for what went in, and that would have showed up.
Yeah.
But they can't test for how much water was ingested, right?
Yeah, it gets a little bit more complex in terms of the assay and the science on that. I think that Islam's stance right now is to not even comment that he did IV. I don't think he's wrong to do that. He did IV, and I don't add him to talk behind. But you're fighting with your clothes off, and we can take photos and zoom in on that. Yeah. He did IV, but I'll just share with the world that that doesn't mean it was a violation. Even if it was a violation, whoever this nurse is that spoke up, I mean, shame on her. What a big mouth. You do that in America, they take your license away. I mean, you got HIPAA and all sorts of other stuff. This girl goes to his hotel, she juices him, and then she goes and tells the other camp when he flies out of town. That was a scumbag move. I mean, she's acting like she is the hero of this story and the whistleblower. She's a scumbag.
Well, she hasn't come forward, right? She's not acting like anything because she's. Right?
But she shared information.
Yeah,
she came forward to share
whistleblowing.
information. And what is that? That's HIP. There's a HIPAA law that
There's
says
HIPAA in America. They did this over in Perth. I haven't the foggiest idea what the rules are. But in America, she would have violated his rights. Mm-hmm. Definitely would have. Mm-hmm. And he might have disclosed it to USADA. We also don't have information that didn't do that. And on top of that, and then it's the milligram. I mean, there's a lot that goes into this. And the only reason I say that is there's not going to be an investigation. There's no smoke here.
Yeah.
This isn't an ongoing story. If he wants to make this dramatic by saying he didn't do it and having other people zoom in and see the vein and see that he did, then more power to him. But he's not in violation of anything. Yeah. And if you want to know who's the skunk of this story, it's the woman that went to the room, took the money, and outed him the next day. What kind of a move is that?
I mean, how dumb would you have to be on Islam's team and do something illegal in a foreign country with some random nurse?
And then wear a short sleeve shirt the next day at the press conference.
I don't know. It just seems so.
In the home country of the guy you're fighting.
Yeah, it almost seems as if like either they didn't know they couldn't add liquid up to X amount, or they did it up to the legal amount.
Because it's so blatant.
It's so blatant.
Yeah,
sure.
And it's so easily discredited. It's not only you, but like now you go into Khabib's legacy. I mean, there is a dominance from the Dagestanis, and people are looking for a reason why.
For sure.
They're asking the question I asked you immediately, which was, are they on steroids? Why are they so good? What's so different about these guys? They're looking for cheating.
And it seems like they have an internal honor that I can't imagine they'd want to disrupt that for their teammates.
Yeah.
It just seems like a very loose situation. Take your own IV person.
Yeah.
If he was overhydrated, how much does that change the outcome of the match? How much did that have to do with him winning?
In my opinion, as a guy that's tried every performance in it, not much. I mean, IV doesn't do much. Lance Armstrong, when he beat all the tests, and don't forget, Lance never failed a test. He just confessed to Oprah, right? He just bitched out and said that he did it. He never actually failed a test. But the way Lance would beat those tests is he would IV. So you would,
you IV it out of your system.
Yes, you'd IV it right out of your system, and it'll flush it fast. I'm talking about a few hours. It will be flushed, and you will pass any test.
So you can get a call that day and be like, no problem.
Oh, so they called him for the IV, not the test?
Yeah. They never caught Lance for he outed that he did EPO, that he did growth, that he did testosterone, but he still hasn't told the world how he did it. I can tell you how he did, but he hasn't told the world. But he told the world how he didn't get caught, and he didn't get caught because he would flush it with an IV. So USADA comes out. They're worried that people know this. People didn't know it. That's a mistake. That people we actually didn't know. USADA smartened us of how to beat them. But then they tried to claim that they could test plastic particles, and we'll know if you IV'd over this and that part. They're bluffing.
They
so
can't.
when you get people, no, they can't. No, if you say yes, I used an IV. Well, you can only use up to 30 milligrams. Great, then I used 29. No, they don't know if you put in 60. They don't know if you put in 200. They don't know what you put. They claim that they know, but they don't.
So basically, any fighter can beat a drug test.
Yes.
Any athlete.
Any athlete. Yeah.
It's a little bit more complicated, but yes, there's some big problems with the IV. Not to mention, let's use IV, and I'm making numbers up, but at 30, you can have 30 ml. Well, I can do 30 ml, take it out and put 30 ml in this arm. Then I can go back and put another 30 in this arm. The way that the rule is written, I can only have 30 at a time. Well, what's a time? A minute? A day? A session?
Oh, wow.
Every time this nurse comes in my room, what is a time? And that's never been challenged, but it hasn't been challenged, and they haven't collected the language because USADA doesn't know what to do. They don't know what to do because they can't catch you. So, yes, they told the world how to beat them.
And do you think most pro athletes are doing this, even outside of the UFC and fight sports?
Not most pro athletes. Like, if you go into an NFL locker room, yes. I mean, they look ridiculous. But no, I don't think most pro athletes know. Very few in basketball. I mean, it's why I bring LeBron up. Like, there's very few in basketball. There's only one that I know of in golf. But it works was my only point. It wasn't to embarrass LeBron.